Hi everyone, good evening. How are you? So good to see you all here. Yeah, you're getting an advanced look at what we're working on tonight, and that is Clara Driscoll and Tiffany Lamps. And I have some people on the feed already. I can see that I love this YouTube feed because now I could talk to people before I even go live. And I was telling one of our smart starters and amazing artists, Arlene Joseph, that this evening, and also Charles Brady, this evening is inspired by my trip to Central Park that I took today. So let me explain that in terms of Clara Driscoll. But hello, everybody. Thank you and welcome to Smart Start. And this is where we begin, continue, or end our day with some art, discussing it, kind of finding ourselves within the work, within our observations. And our observations are very important. Yeah. So my son and I, it's a tough time in New York City, most definitely. And I really am not interested in leaving right now. I want to say that. I don't even know where I would go. But right now, I both want to be here and not want to be here. So today's Newton's birthday, our dog, and we decided to go out for an early afternoon walk. I had some work to do early this morning and then some phone calls. So in between the phone calls, we went for a walk. And I ran into a friend of mine, my neighbor, and she said to me, she had just walked over from the east side, and she said, "Oh my goodness, Central Park. It's like nothing you've seen recently. It smells incredible. The birds are chirping and everyone's picnicking." I was like, yeah, why am I not in Central Park more? So William and I took a stroll, and we actually decided to sit on the grass. And he said, "Oh, Mom, you have one of your fancy, expensive dresses on." It's only because I can't get anything over my head right now because I have a very injured shoulder. So anything that I can zip up works. But we sat on the grass, and it was gorgeous. Gorgeous. Central Park is gorgeous. And now I feel like it healed me, and I indeed don't want to go anywhere. I just want to take more trips to Central Park. So we've planned a picnic for Friday, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, and it's any day that I can get out to Central Park. So it started me thinking, and as putting the show together this evening, and we looked at Constable yesterday, and those Constable skies, right? And we could see that in Central Park. And I started thinking tonight, what can we talk about? And then I started to thinking about the way we live in New York City. Hi, Diana. Hi, so good to see you. Is that Diana Lair? Great to see you. Um, so, um, so I'm thinking about the way we live in New York City, and those of us fortunate enough to have, very nice apartments, very beautiful artwork. This is Charles Brady's sister, the fantastic Rebecca Riley. So there's a history in that family of phenomenal art. Yeah. Hu Bing, Jong Hung Tu in the background. Really very, very lucky. As an art dealer, it's part of my job, right, to have a great collection. I started to think about what the city was like in very oppressive times. And since you all know, I work at the New York Historical Society, and we did a lot of scholarship on Clara Driscoll and the makings of the Tiffany lamps. And so I want to share that with you because it really hits home tonight. It's so great to see you, Diana Lair. How is your back? How do you feel? So my friends, this is the indomitable Sarah Driscoll. And Sarah Driscoll becomes very important to us. Cocktail hour. Women, artists, the creation of New York around the 1900s, because she did a few things quite remarkable. When Tiffany decided that he did not want to, his male workers went on strike, he replaced them with female workers that he paid very well, and he made Clara Driscoll the head of his factory. And it's really Clara Driscoll who ushers in this notion Look at the motif of the Tiffany lamp. I love teaching this to children because honestly, everybody thinks right off the bat, I don't want to look at lamps. And I tell them this is material culture. It's art, but it's also material culture. Is it boring to look at lamps? They become very fascinated. And right away, they tell me off the bat. They'll tell me, oh, Miss Cheryl. They'll call me Miss Cheryl. I love that. It's like nature. Yeah, it's like nature. Let's look at this nature. Every single lamp. Look at this. And we're going to go back and look at them slower. Every single lamp has an interesting motif. And that motif comes from nature. And so when she was creating these lamps, what happened was she becomes the head of Tiffany's, one of his workrooms. Let me show you the workroom because I love it. This is Ms. Driscoll working with Tiffany. She becomes the head of his design workroom. What she does in turn is she, and I want to hear all of your thoughts, hires, let me just fix that slide, women, other women, for her workroom. And her workroom is the design workroom, right? She's designing. The workroom where the men are working, they're cutting the glass and dealing with the lead, which ends up being very dangerous for them. The women were not allowed to work with that medium, and there ends up being a lot of mercury poisoning and such. But she creates her own workroom of women. Now, this is not anything close to a sweatshop. So at this time, she's making as much as a male head designer. She is also hiring women. She then lives at the Barbizon Hotel, which at the time, which is still right on the Upper East Side, is at the time it was a very safe place for a woman, I wouldn't necessarily say businesswoman, but a working woman. But she was a businesswoman, right? To rent a room, very, very safe. And Miss Driscoll travels to work on a bicycle. And it's this new freedom. The bicycle is the new freedom for women. And some people are upset about it. They're feeling like, oh, that could be very, really Diana Lair. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just reading what Diana Lair wrote, and that her great-granddaughter, Comfort Tiffany's great-granddaughter, lives up the road from her in Maui. Wow. I love that. And so getting to work became this freedom, and the bicycle became freedom for women. She went so far as designing a skirt that becomes these pantaloons that you see so that women could ride the bike in freedom, right? They don't have to side sit. They don't have to worry about getting their skirt caught in the chain. Yeah, I know, Arlene, right? Hi, Stuart Shapiro. Lucian, how are you? Lucian. My friends, Lucian has just joined the feed, and I want to remind all my friends who Lucian was. If you watched our Charles Birchfield show last week, it was young Lucian who put together those images, and he also wrote that beautiful little paragraph essay of art history about Birchfield. So welcome, Lucian, to the show. And Lucian, we're going to work on this artist too, Clara Driscoll. So Lucian knows that Cheryl always wants me, for you all, to tell me what you see. So what Clara Driscoll does is this time, it's a remarkable time in history, because what's happening is the city is in two very, very particular areas of time. One being intense immigration, and the other being intense industrialization. And so the green areas, as we know, we have Central Park today, but all of the greenery around the smaller neighborhoods is going away. The urban feel, the vertical city is coming into being. At this time, the Flatiron building is starting to be built, as you know. I'm connected to the Flatiron Building. Yeah. I'm so well. Thank you for joining us, Lucian. It's so great to have you here. And so the notion was to bring nature inside. And when I went to the park with William this morning, that's exactly what I thought about. How did people live in this city at other times when they didn't have a quick escape? I could easily go out of the city, right? I could easily go somewhere else. They brought nature inside to them. And the way they did it, some of the ways they did it was with these Tiffany lamps. One of the most important ways, because if you remember too, the onset of the electric light was fascinating and phenomenal to light up the city outside. But to light up the city inside, that Edison light bulb was harsh, and I think that's the best word I can use. It was so harsh, it was horrible for people. So in order to create these shades, Driscoll created them with the most beautiful nature motifs as a way of preserving nature in the city. Yeah. And wisteria became some of the most important motif. I mean, you can almost see it dripping here, right? I just love this. Yeah, so great to have you here, Lucian. Let's look at another. Look at this lamp, you guys. Lily Pond. Is this extraordinary? And all of these, I got these particular lamps off of Christie's because they had recently gone to auction. And now these Tiffany lamps are in the millions to buy. In the millions, yeah. Yeah, I bet they did make them feel better, Charles. I mean, if you could afford a lamp like this and you're watching, you're seeing the city around you rise. Massive steel production, massive urbanization. You're losing your green spaces. You want your home to, like right now, I have all of this harsh light on because otherwise I wouldn't be lit here. I have to get a light for my desk that lights me for smART stART and all of my Zoom classes. And so when I think about just being home or being anywhere with harsh light, it's very disturbing. Yeah, they're pretty, aren't they, Lucian? And so when you think about this lampshade diffusing the light and then the way color works, right? Because so much of what Louis Comfortivity did was about color, this stained glass. And he takes the notion of stained glass that we see in cathedrals and churches. And it's no longer, or in this medium at least, it's not religious figures, religious iconography, but natural nature. And the lamp bases, the same thing. Lamp bases have to have this very natural feel to them. Yeah, Arlene, I'm feeling so much better because of Central Park. Thank you. It did energize me today because I have been feeling like being inside, that I've been in this unnatural world and that I'm disconnected from nature. And just going to Central Park, I realized I was kind of bemoaning being in the city, and you never hear me bemoaning being in the city, my friends. And then just look at this, you guys. Then going into nature, just sitting there in Central Park and how beautiful it was, and seeing children run and the dogs, and people are suntanning. You'll never see me suntanning, but just sitting on the grass and smelling it is just like, yeah, we can be here, we can be in this city, we can do this lockdown. Everybody was 6 feet apart, they had masks on, and the park is just incredibly gorgeous right now. Because so many people have left the city, and so many people have, or they're staying in. So the park is just this really oasis. And so in thinking about finding those oases, especially in the industrial period, right, and especially at a time with massive immigration and massive industrialization, as well as this vertical city being built. Imagine the noise of all of that. Yeah, the dragonflies are amazing. They are amazing. Yeah, I love that. And I love in this one particularly the mosaic. and the table lamp. So these are all around 1905, 1900. So we have the lamps being made now. We have the Flatiron as one of the first skyscrapers going up, and neighborhoods pushing further and further north. At this time, also, the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, the cornerstone has been laid and building in earnest has started. So this area of Upper Manhattan, which is Morningside Heights, which was formerly all farmland and one of the highest elevations in New York City, is now making way for King's College, which becomes Columbia University, goes from downtown to uptown. The Cathedral of St. John the Divine goes uptown, and this is the ability to do this is because of the elevated trains that come in. So it's moving and shaking and rumbling. I'm not sure if the city was so dreary back then as I think it looks it, because the pictures are all black and white. I love this picture of Clara Driscoll. But I definitely think that with the light bulb, it became much more certainly secure to work in the evening, to walk in the evenings. Also, with the invention of the light bulb, then you started to be able to have shows in the evening. You had Broadway. You have all this that comes to the fore in New York. All of these amazing things that happen. Barnum and Bailey's Circus, all of these things that you can start to have. But what is lost? And that's what Clara Driscoll did so beautifully, was she's looking at, we have tremendous achievement here with the subways, the elevated trains, right? Bridges starting to be built, the vertical city, the skyscrapers. But what are we losing? We're losing nature. Oh yeah, I remember Lily in Nassau on 57th Street. Yeah. And I realized that that's what was happening to me today, friends. Losing nature. But it's right here. I live between Central Park and Riverside Drive. So it's no one's fault but my own. Yeah. And now I'm getting back there. Definitely going back, and really for the first time in a long while, really kind of frequenting the park and spending time there and enjoying it, because that's really the creation of Central Park was about, to be this. And I say this with also knowing that the first African American settlement in New York was in Central Park, and Central Park was the African American settlement was removed for the creation of Central Park. So I'm highly aware of that. But I think what I'd like to do is try to do a YouTube live from that area, if I can, possibly tomorrow, so you can see what that was about. Because it's a dichotomy, because Central Park is created with this democratic notion that the park is for everybody. And yet the first African American neighborhood in New York proper was evicted in the creation of Central Park. But what is and that's our history, right? History is a very, very odd thing. There's always those juxtapositions, just like they are here in this work, that we have the benefit of this incredible vertical city coming into being, of Columbia University coming up because of the elevated trains, the subways. We can now, the city stretches out far beyond what was originally thought as. But then you lose all of the land, because the city was originally a forest, right? Native Americans. So you lose all of a lot of the nature. So what do? You try to create a space like Central Park. But what Clara Driscoll does is she creates pieces for you to bring right into your house and to be able to enjoy them right there, and it diffuses that harsh light of modernity. Yeah, because that light is very harsh. That Edison light bulb is very harsh. I think this is one of my favorites, the pond lily. I think that that is remarkable. We have a fantastic collection of Tiffany lamps at the Historical Society. In fact, it's one of the most gorgeous galleries that you've ever been in. And it's interesting, the person that designed the gallery was also designed the gallery for the crown jewels in Britain. So it's really, really a gorgeous gallery. It's interesting because we also had Tiffany glass at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, and unfortunately it was dismantled and sent to Florida, where I think it's Winterthurshire, Florida, somewhere where there's the Tiffany Museum. So that was unfortunate that we lost that. But this may be one of my favorites, because let's look at this, you guys. It's leaded glass, bronze and mosaic lotus lamp, but look at the shape of the light bulbs. You see the lamp itself, but on top you have those openings, right, where these lines are, that opening, and the light bulbs themselves are shaped like lotus. I just think that that's gorgeous and phenomenal. And then that base. So, yeah. All right. So everybody, I want you all, if you can, take a page from my book today. Get back into nature, even if it's just very quickly. Were these stained glass made like these? Yeah, in the studio, Charles, they were made exactly like stained glass was made. It's a long and arduous process to make stained glass, and we have all of the when we all get back to life at the New York Historical Society, you all have to go if you're in New York to the Tiffany gallery and have all the materials, and it shows you the process of stained glass, which I have to be honest with you, I should know better, but I do not. Yeah. So thank you all so much for joining me. Nature is the key. If you can't get out into it, I hope you have something inside that reflects it for you. And if I can, I'll go live from Central Park tomorrow, but if not, I'll be here. All right. Thank you all. Diana, it's so nice to have you here tonight. Lucian, thank you for joining me. Thank you. And it's so great to see you. And Lucian, I'll see you tomorrow in class, which I'm very much looking forward to. Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.